series. I'm Lewis Grubbs, your Raleigh Regional Association of Realtors 2020 president. Our Power Hour series features curated classes at 10 a.m. It is also a great way to connect with industry experts and a place to cultivate professional development services. Thank you for starting your week off with us today as we learn about how to build your business and sell your business. Before I introduce our speaker, Derek Thornton, our 2021 Triangle Realtors Leadership Academy Dean, would like to say a few words. Derek.
Yes, thank you, Lewis. How's everyone doing? First of all, thank you for letting me have an opportunity to speak to everyone. I thought this was the perfect venue, obviously, with professional development, talking about the Leadership Academy for next year. For those of you who don't know, the Raleigh Regional Association of Realtors puts in a Realtor Academy or Leadership Academy for anyone in the industry. That can be mortgage brokers, it can be title people, it can be anyone, but gives you an opportunity to really hone your leadership skills in different areas, as well as learn more about how to network and how to really build your business, and a lot of the stuff we'll talk about today. So I hope that you guys will join. Applications are open now. I'll put a link in the chat section so you can get a feel for it, but I would love it if you would join me for next year.
Thank you, Derek. Today, we're excited to introduce Mark Given. Mark grew up in a rural Ohio town, headed to North Carolina to finish college, and resides in a small North Carolina community with his wife of 42 years. Together, they have raised 5 great children and inspire 8 grandchildren. After his education at Ohio State University and Elon College, Mark spent 20 years as CEO of a multi-state retail sales and rental company that grew to 47 locations. He has spent the past 20 years as a philosopher, speaker, teacher, coach, and author. All along the way, Mark has invested tens of thousands of hours teaching his life and business-changing, trust-based philosophy systems, leadership skills, sales skills, and success systems with organizations across the world. I'll now turn it over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Lewis. Hey, Mary Rachel, thanks for everything. Derek, it was a wonderful plug for leadership. So before I even jump into my program, I want you to know, for those of you that don't know me, I'm a realtor just like you, and have been for going on 21 years. And Derek, I went through the North Carolina Association of Realtors Leadership Academy back a long time ago, 2003 or 4, I think. I can't remember which year because it's been so long ago. But the Leadership Academy for me was life-changing. I mean, what you learn. And so for Raleigh Regional to have a program like that, I just hope that those that are either watching live now or will, tune in later to the recording will jump in and get their feet wet on trying to increase and improve their leadership skills. So Derek, I applaud you. Great job on that. And Lewis, thanks for having me today. Mary Rachel's a friend, and so I wave at Mary Rachel, and so glad to have you here. So I've got some slides for you today because we've got an important topic that we need to talk about. And so let me give you the kind of the cliff notes. Oops, I don't want to go there. Let me exit back out of that, go back up to the start. I apologize for that weak beginning there. There you go. So the Cliff Notes version, to not bore you, but to help you understand the importance of why we're doing this today. Having spent 20 years running a retail company before I got into real estate, and then having to prepare that business to sell it, because that's what I did at the end of the 1990s, and got a real job. I got into real estate. I realized very quickly that one of the things that happens in real estate is that agents come into the business and there's a tremendous turnover. I mean, in other words, they get a license, but then they can't succeed. They struggle succeeding. And it's because they're not attaching themselves in many ways to agents that have been around a long time, that maybe are in their, in the winter part of their careers. In other words, real estate is kind of like life. I mean, we have we have a springtime where we're coming into real estate, and then we have a summertime when when we're flourishing, and then a fall that we become seasoned and we're ready to, look at the future. And then the wintertime in real estate is when we need to seriously be looking at what's next. In other words, what are we doing with retirement? These young, or at least young in real estate people that are coming in the early years, right, the real estate spring, really should be attaching themselves to the agents that are in the wintertime. And the wintertime need to be looking for those springtime agents. And along the way, you build a business so that you actually can sell a business. I just hate to see agents that get in and then just kind of walk away from years of preparing, building, creating this wonderful business, which has tremendous potential ongoing. So we're talking about proven strategies today to help you build your business so you can sell your business. So with that in mind, many of you, maybe one or two of you have seen me in a program before. I love coming to Raleigh Regional Association. I've been coming there for about 15 years doing programs. And I say this almost every time I come, that I repeat this quote by Herbert Spencer when he said, "The great aim of education is not knowledge, it's actually action." Now, the interesting thing as it relates to this topic today is this topic scares a lot of people because it's, well, let me just get to work on a day-to-day basis and make some money. But the reality of it is, if you take action, you can create it so that at some point, people actually want to come to you because of your action steps, and they're interested in buying your business instead of you walking away. And so the great aim of education this morning and the little bit of time we have together, it's not knowledge. It's not what you're going to learn or what I'll share with you, but it's action. And what I'm going to talk to you about are 4 principles and how to create your business to sell a business. So let me ask you an important question as we begin today. And this relates to everybody, and it may be in a different way. But at what point in your career will it be time for you to back off, slow down, or retire entirely? Now, if you're brand new to the business or you're newer to the business, maybe in the first year or a couple of years or 3 years of your business, you should be looking for agents that are actually thinking of this. So here's the important question. At what point in your career will it be time to back off, slow down, or retire entirely? And my important question is, write down the date. Great things happen when you write down the date, when you make a decision, right? So when you make a decision that you're going to expand your business by buying somebody out, or you're going to, slow down and back off, when you decide on that date, that's when things will happen, which will stir, you decide, you write it down, the date, right? And I don't mean, a general year. I mean a month, a day, and a year. You write that down, and it's amazing what can happen, because I'm a religious person. I would say God, but God or the universe, depending on how you feel, will conspire to help you build and accomplish. So let's go down the path. There are 4 principles I've got to actually cover with you today, and there are pieces within each one. So here's the first question. What's it really take to create a sellable business? So when I go out and teach GRI classes in North Carolina, actually I teach business planning GRI in about 5 states. And so I always cover this simple but not simplistic principle. What's it take to create a sellable business? Well, if you got a pen, I hope you'll write this down. I hope you'll go back to the recording and review this. Here are the pieces. Number 1, you must have a business plan and an operating budget. In other words, if you don't know how you create a profitable business, if you don't know how your money is being spent, if you don't know where the money's coming from, if you don't have a budget as to how, income is great, profit is exquisite, right? In other words, there's a big difference. I got it right here. There's a big difference between at the end of the year having $1,000, right? Or having $10,000, right? Or having $100,000, right? There's a huge difference. And you can take in $100,000 and only have $1,000 profit, right? Or you can take in $100,000 and have $80,000 profit, right? What you want is to keep as much of this as you possibly can. So what's it take? Well, you got to have a business plan and an operating budget. Number 2, you must know exactly how you made that profit. And I'm going to show you over the next, say, 30 minutes before we get into even any question or answers, right? that I'll show you how you can determine whether you're making a profit or not. Then number three, you must have a database that creates more business. Now, we all have, right? We all have a cell phone, and we call that our database. But the truth is, all that really is a call list. It's just a list of names and numbers. That's all it really is. There's a huge difference between this, right, and a database. A true database, you will go through the principle of categorizing and prioritizing. And I'll explain that in detail in a few minutes. But what does that really mean? Well, in kindness, but in reality, as it relates to business, everybody in that call list, as it relates to business, is not created equal, right? In other words, some are more valuable to you from a dollars and cents standpoint, right, than others. Now they're all valuable in this world, right? I mean, they're all important in this world. But from a business standpoint, it's critically important to understand who's more valuable to you, right? And again, I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So you must have systems to document what you do. I just talked with a business owner recently who was not in real estate, who, an entrepreneur, and is winding down in their career. And they said, Mark, you sold your business and you've done it more than once. What's one of the things you have to do? And here's what I said. I said, you've got to sit down, and even though this is cumbersome and maybe a little bit of a burden, but you've got to sit down and you've got to write down what you do on a day-to-day basis to create the business you've created. In other words, what are the steps for marketing? What are the steps for if you buy a product, right? Or if you, in your case, where we're listing homes and working with buyers and sellers, how do you create those buyers? How do you find them, right? And then how do they find you? How do you work with sellers? What's your system when you go on a listing presentation? Now, let me give you the Cliff Notes version of this. If you don't have a 3-ring binder that is like your operations manual, it's going to be very difficult for you to turn your business over to somebody else because they don't know how to duplicate what you do, right? Especially if you've got a brand new agent, a green agent, they've got to know if you're producing high amounts of money, well, how do you do that? Well, you do that by creating, you have systems, you write down the system. So this entrepreneur said, I just don't know if I have time to do that. And so I was honest with him in a loving way, right? But I just said, well, you're going to find it very difficult to sell your business if you can't show people how you create the income that you create. How do you become profitable and maintain profitability? So it may be cumbersome, it may be difficult, right? In that you're going to have to set time aside to do it, but it's an important principle. You'd never buy a business. Let me give you a quick example. You'd never buy Kentucky Fried Chicken if you didn't get the recipe, right? Because you'd just be frying chicken, right? You can have your own recipe, but if you want to buy Kentucky Fried Chicken, then you got to have their recipe. You've got a recipe for your business too. So the last principle before I go on to the next step is you must have scalable marketing systems that actually work. In other words, you've got to measure, what do I do? What do I spend? What's the return on that investment, right? Because it should always be an investment. Now, maybe you do billboards, maybe you do print ads, maybe you just join the country club, right? Or maybe you get all your business from church. But what are your scalable marketing systems? What do you do? What do you have to spend to do that? And what's the return on your investment? I hope you wrote all those down because those are critically important. I mean, realistically, this, we're talking really about this, right? So anyway, so real estate as an investment could be one way that you create your exit strategy in business. In other words, I don't really care about my business. What I care about is creating, high wealth. Well, if you say all the things I just said, I don't want to do that, or you say, I don't have time to do that, well, then just create, set the date and start investing. I'm going to do this one quick because this is not an investment class, but this is reality. If you're going to exit your business, you build your business to sell your business, maybe somebody will give you, $1,000 for your business so that you can buy more properties. I was in an event some years ago with a guy named Steve Harney. I don't know that Steve's even around anymore, but he was out there on the speaking circuit for a while, as I have been now for 15 years. Steve showed this picture, so I want to give him credit for it, you know. And he said this, he was talking about this important person, right, as far as wealth goes, this name that we know in the United States, Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett this was at the end of the last decade, and he said, investing in homes right now, he said, this will be the best opportunity in your lifetime. Well, the economy has done this crazy stuff, and then with COVID, it's done additional crazy stuff. But here's the reality. Warren is just as right now, right? That principle that Warren said 10 years ago, right? Maybe 11 years ago, is just as true now as it was then. The interest rates are still ridiculously low. So from a standpoint of building your business, right? Invest in properties, right? Invest in properties. I call them shiny pennies. So get out there and find some shiny pennies. Instead of just selling them to somebody else, maybe you should find a way to invest in them, to grow your business. And by the way, the other part of that is you want to better understand what your clients are going through. You go out and buy some properties and experience that, dealing with sellers on a personal basis, dealing with a bank on a personal basis. You want to have a better understanding of what it takes to help your clients succeed so you can grow your business, sell your business, get out there and buy a few properties yourself. So here's number two. Number two is selling your business, and there's two different ways within this simple principle. Number two is an outright sale. Now, I just want you to know, as somebody that's gone through this principle, if you just have somebody come up and wants to buy your business and you don't have the systems in place, it's still very possible that you could sell your business. The problem is, the reality is, you're not going to get very much for your business, not nearly as much as it's probably worth, if you just sell it outright. In other words, it's a walk away number. Hey, I'll sell you my business for $10,000, right? And then they step in and take over. There's an interesting book, got it right here. Now, this is not just about real estate, but there's an interesting book here called The Upstart Guide to Buying, Valuing, and Selling Your Business, right? So I don't know if you can see that. It's actually written by a Scott Gabehart. This book was not really written for real estate, but there are some interesting points in this book. And as I travel around and talk about this principle, all around the country, I always carry this book with me so that I can pass it around for people to look at. So The Upstart Guide to Buying, Valuing, and Selling Your Business. Go find some books like this to help you get an idea of how to value your business. The second way would be to prepare it for highest potential value. Now, if you set a date, if I actually got you to set a date, right? If you even thought about that, I hope you did. Maybe you even wrote it down already. If you hadn't, I'm asking you to decide today, write it down today. And you could then begin, right, from now until that date to prepare your business to be its highest potential value, right? In other words, at the end of the year, instead of just saying, did I make any money, right? Or how much money did I make when you do your taxes? You determine, where that money comes from so that you can specifically and intentionally grow your business. So there are four main components to consider when you're going to value your real estate business. Number one, it's the total potential profit from past and current transactions. In other words, go back the last 5 years, right? See what the economy has allowed your business to produce. Is it gone up? Has it gone down? Is it stagnant? So what's the potential profit? Look at your tax returns, right? How much money did you bring in from your real estate practice, and how much money did you make, right? I don't mean gross, I mean net, right? And then take a look at your current transactions and how that compares. And then you have to, predict, what have I got to do to grow that between now and the period of time in which I'm going to sell. So it's your total potential profit. If you can determine a profit, right, what your profit structure is over a period of time, then you can get an idea of how much to sell your business for if it's an outright sale, right? Now, some people might say, well, how much of that do I get? If my profit each year is X, right, can I sell it for that much profit times 5? Well, probably not, right? but you could sell it for, 1 year's profit, 2 years profit, 3 years profit, right? And spread that out over a few years. That's a possibility on a walk away system. Number 2 of the 4, it's the place you hold within the marketplace. It's your brand. Now let's be realistic. In the Raleigh Regional Association of Realtors, there are many, not only licensees, but realtors. This is, no matter how you cut it, if you look at your market share, right? So your company, your firm has a market share, but within that market share, you have a percentage of that too. Now, if you looked at the total number of agents in your marketplace, the total number of transactions that closed, right? The revenue that came from that, you can determine, it's not difficult math, you can determine your total closing number compared to the total number that were closed, and you can determine your portion of the market, right? You can determine your portion of revenue as compared to the full market. Now, I know that will be maybe a little bit depressing, but if you want to increase your business, if you want to increase the value of your business, you got to be realistic with yourself about how much of the market share do you actually have, and then go to work growing that, right? Now, how do you do that? You do that with your brand, right? You do that with your brand because you've got to grow your brand. A simple example of that would be, I don't have it, I meant to bring it in here. I was in Walmart over the weekend, and right beside Walmart salt, Great Value salt, is Morton salt. Now, Morton salt is, depending on the location probably, but it's, and where you are, but it's 50% to twice as much for the same package of Morton salt as Great Value salt. Now, I'm not a salt expert, but I know this. Some people, if you stand there and watch for 10 minutes, some people will buy the Great Value salt, right? Because they just want to, you get what you pay for. Other people will buy the Morton salt, even though it's more expensive, right? Now, I don't know, maybe it's better, but let's just call them apples to apples. It's salt. The market is going to do business with the agents, right? Now, consumers, based on their personality, are going to choose based on your brand and where you stand. And so realistically, here's what I'm suggesting. Be the Morton salt, right? Be the Morton salt. You want to build your business to sell your business, you got to go, no disrespect to Walmart, but you got to go from Great Value to Morton salt. And there are systems that you can do that, right? It just means you got to take a lot more education, put a lot more things into practice. I'm not teaching you all that today, right? But just know that you've got to increase your market share. And one of the ways you do that is by increasing the value of your brand within the market. So number 3, the impact that a change of ownership may have on securing future business is critically important. You got to remember, when you sell your business, you got another rainmaker that comes in. So you're the rainmaker, you got another rainmaker coming in. Just know that when you replace yourself, you need to position yourself so that new rainmaker will not just sustain the business, right? Especially if you have a payout over the next 3 or 5 or 7 or 10 years. They don't need to just sustain the business. They need to grow the business. If you want to guarantee your return, right? You've got to grow the business. Got to grow the business. They've got to grow the business. So it's critically important to bring in the right person to replace you. I've got a little bit of time we're going to spend on that today too. And number 4 is, again, because I'm going to beat you up with this, it's the value of your database. Now, again, right, I mean, many agents out there spend a lot of time chasing strangers. But if you want to really grow your business, to sell your business, see, anybody can buy leads. They don't need your business to go buy leads. Anybody can take a website designer that's built your website and have them build a website. Why they want to buy your business if they can just kind of, hire the same people to build their website, and that's what gathers, right, new business for them. But your database, if you want to really grow your business, then you've got to massage love on your database, right? You got to love on them. So there's got to be some systems that you have in place to how you grow your database, right? So that you can grow it and get the highest potential return off that database. Now, nobody likes an icky salesperson So the key would be, how do you sell them without being icky, right? How do you get more business? How do you get more referrals? How do you get more recommendations without being an icky salesperson? So here's the simple principle. I hope you got your pen so you can write this down. I know I'm talking fast, but you got to hang with me because I don't have a lot of time. So prioritize and categorize. I mentioned that a little earlier. You know, everybody in your phone is not created equal as it relates to business. So if you take all these people and you prioritize and categorize them, you can determine which ones actually have the most value to you. So you would segment your database into groups or categories, right? Now, I don't have time to teach you all of that today, but just know there are some systems that you can do that. You can create your own system, but everybody's not created equal. Just break them into 4 groups of A, B, C, D. I can teach you how to do that, right? So you treat them well. Number 2, then you add detailed information to each contact, because obviously what you'd want to do is know which ones are repeat, right? Repeat customers and clients. You want to know which ones send you referrals on a regular basis, right? So detailed information so that you can stay in contact with them regularly. As an example, right to my left, you can't see this, but to my left, I have a little sheet on my bulletin board right beside me, my desk, that says my top 50 business producing contacts, my top 50 business producing contacts. And right now there's about 42 people on that. So those people are the ones that create the most repeat and return business for me. Now, I've got a few people on there who've never bought a house from me before, right? They've never bought anything from me, but they recommend me over and over and over. So I've got to know those people so well that just by having their name on the list, I know when the important dates are in their lives. I know the important, I know when to contact them. I know, I know what's going on. Come on, I know where they went to school. I know their favorite beverage, right? I mean, I know the things that they like, so I know when to contact them and how often. The benefit of having it right there is every single day, especially during COVID, I see this list, and as I glance down through it, I'm thinking, what have I done for that person, this week or this month, right? What's coming up in their life that I need to contact them and stay connected with them? Because the better job I do of showing them that I love them as a person, right? Not just as business. When the business issues come up, somebody, they talk to at work, mentions what I do, well, then they're going to recommend me. And they'll do the same thing for you. So the third part of this is create activity plans for each of the groups, right? Or each of the categories, each of those individuals, right? Now, there's another book I wanted to recommend to you. There aren't very many books out there written for real estate that relate to this topic, but here's a book. I don't love it, but I like it. There's some good things in it. Nick Krauter, K-R-A-U-T-T-E-R, wrote this book, right? So write this down, The Golden Handoff. Right now, I don't know him, so I don't get any kind of, kickback for recommending his book, but there are some things in here that would be helpful to you if you're trying to either build your business to sell it or you're wanting to buy somebody else's business. So this book, right? The Golden Handoff, right? By Nick Krauter, K-R-A-U-T-T-E-R, right? In fact, it even says, there's a testimony that says, this book should be required reading for real estate professionals everywhere. And yet you probably never heard of it before. So anyway, it's recommended now by me. So here's number 3, assimilation. So remember I talked about moving you out, right? And the next person in, or maybe you're going to buy out a business. And so you're moving them out and you're moving in. Well, that's called assimilation, right? That's an old term that I first heard in Star Trek, but it's replacing you as a rainmaker. Here's what or you replacing the rainmaker. Here's what I would say. A rainmaker is the person with an innate or coachable ability to attract and retain customers with the ultimate goal of creating explosive growth. Hiring a rainmaker is one of the most important tasks of every entrepreneur. Now, I just want you to know that no matter what business you're in, if you're an entrepreneur, you cannot, you're just not going to live on this earth forever. So the goal of every entrepreneur, outside of creating a business which creates freedom, right, and financial stability and comfort, right, outside of the business, the day-to-day business, one of your focuses should be, creating your business and then finding somebody that can buy it from you, right? You assimilate somebody in. Why in the world would you run your business for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years or 50 years and not sell it, right? I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me, right? So assimilation is critically important. Find somebody that you can turn your business over to and they can continue it on, right? So what are the key strengths that you need to seek maybe when replacing you, right? What are the key strengths? Well, there's really two parts to this. And I'm going to go fast on this. So you want to, take a picture of the screen or come back and watch the video, right? Or give me a call. I'll be glad to talk to you about it. So if you're going to recruit, select, or hire another rainmaker, well, you've got to define some guidelines as to what you're looking for. And those, how do I know when I find the right, person? I mean, this could be like dating or marriage, right? I mean, how do I know when I find the right person? Well, I can tell you, if you know what you're looking for, you got a much better chance of finding them. So number one, prior experience, right? You might want somebody that has prior experience so that you're not trying to teach them real estate. Or you might want somebody that's actually brand new, right? That has no bad habits. I mean, the one thing about a 20-year realtor is they got lots of bad habits. They got lots of, this is the way I've always done it, right? So number two, enthusiasm. See, I just want you to know, and I think you know this, you can teach skills, but you cannot teach enthusiasm, right? People are either motivated or they're not, right? I mean, that's how Southwest Airline has been profitable year after year after year. They don't hire for skills, right? They hire for enthusiasm, for people that that have the right mental attitude, because you can always teach the skills. Number three, responsibility. So you get it really clear when you're bringing a new rainmaker in, what are you going to do and what are they going to do, right? You don't need to be repeating the same stuff over and over. So again, let's go back to that, policies and procedures manual, or that, that 3-ring binder I talked about before, the systems. One of the things you need to have in place is when I hire a rainmaker, what do I do to begin with and what do they do, right? So that we're not duplicating and causing additional stress. And then how do you measure success, right? How are you going to measure what they're doing, right? That means you're going to have some conversations. You don't have to have evaluation forms. I'm not saying that. But what you got to do is you got to have clear, open communication so you can measure how they're doing. Here's the reality, because I've experienced this a lot. You want to make this decision right the first time, right? Because if you spend time and effort bringing in a rainmaker that's not the right rainmaker, it's exhausting. You got to go all through the process again. And it wastes a lot of time and effort if you're trying to, build. And if you're trying to buy, if you're going to buy, you want to match up with the right person that owns the business so that, it's a success on the first effort, right, as you go through the process. Then they got to be coachable. You got to have somebody that actually can take some recommendations, criticisms, guidance, right? I mean, don't be unkind. You should never be unkind. You should never be unfair. You should never, be high integrity. But just know you got to have somebody that can sit back and will take some guidance, right, from you, and in the right way. So they got to be coachable. And then they got to have good listening and communication skills. Now we talk about, communication skills with our clients so often with, does our client like to text or call, or, do they want to email, or do they want face-to-face visits? But just know that listening and communication skills are critically important. We have this tendency to not listen, right? We only tune in long enough so we can speak again, right? We're more interested in what we're saying and being interesting than being interested, right? And we need to be interested. So we need somebody that's coachable, that's interested, they have good listening skills, and they have good communication skills. And you too, by the way, you need to be coachable. You need to have good listening skills and good communication skills. So if you're going to go through that process, I hope you wrote those down. Well, how do you pay them, right? I mean, this is a question that comes up a lot. If I bring in somebody new, or if I'm coming in as somebody new, how do we work this pay incentives? Well, you get to decide that, right? But you're going to have to think about this ahead of time. So there's some different ways. You could pay them a salary, right? You could pay them a salary with incentives, right? With success, right? We have some success, you get paid this much plus bonuses, right? You could get 100% commission based, right? Now that's how teams are being built now, is that they're paying commissions, right? So maybe you're already in a team. A profit sharing of some kind that you'd look at a short term, maybe over 90 days. So you pay them some kind of money, right? Because they got to live from week to week, got to make their house payment, the car payment, they got to stay in business, got to be able to eat. But then you would have some profit sharing on a short term or long term basis also, right? Now that profit sharing can also be a tool, a strategy that you use for your long term sell up, that once you actually turn it over to somebody else, that you have short-term, long-term profit sharing evaluations, right? And then it could be based on performance, right? In other words, you give them some kind of fee, and a basic fee, and then based on their performance, they get paid. I mean, think of if you have children or you've ever known children, right? Maybe you've ever known a child. Sometimes they get allowances, right? That could be the same type principle, right? And in other words, when I was a kid, if my dad said, "Hey, I want you to cut the grass every Friday, and I'll pay you, X amount for doing that," it's like an incentive. If I do it, I get paid. If I don't do it, I didn't get paid, right? So, performance-based incentives, those would work too. So let me wind this down to the last idea. And then I got to tell you a story, and then we're gonna. If you got questions, great, and if you don't, well, we'll end this program. So number 4 is build a long-term referral business. Obviously, between now and the time you sell, or if you're a rainmaker wanting to come in, much of your business, unless you're chasing strangers and buying leads, much of the business is going to be dependent. The future business is dependent upon the success of your referrals. Now, if we were in a classroom right now, I had everybody turn to somebody else and say, you need more referrals, right? Because no matter how many referrals we have, we can always use more referrals, right? I mean, you want to create this? I mean, there's a huge difference. And by the way, these bills are not real. You can tell. But, I can make $1,000 a year on referrals, right? Or I can make $10,000 a year on referrals. But here's what's interesting. I know some agents out there making $100,000 a year in referrals, right? They didn't have to sell anything. They can making 6 figures just because of referrals, right? They turn those referrals over to acting, working agents, and so they get a referral off that. It's incredible. So I just want you to know that statistically, on average, it costs 5 to 7 times more to attract a stranger than it does to work with somebody that already knows you, likes you, and trusts you, and is connected with you. I call that in the flow with you, right? If you ever did a ninja selling class, I traveled for Larry Kendall and taught ninja selling for almost a decade. So know, like, trust, and in the flow with you. What's interesting is that it's not just money. It's also time. It costs 5 to 7 times more effort to attract and to, nurture a stranger than it does somebody that already knows you, likes you, trusts you, and is a flow with you. You already have a connection with them. So how do you enhance your referral stream, right? You need more referrals. I need more referrals. So you've got to know who your ideal customer is. To be really great at referrals, understand what you're looking for. Again, it's like dating or marriage again, right? And that worked out for me. I mean, my lovely bride and I have been married for 42 years now. I knew what I was looking for, and when I saw it, man, I'm so blessed that and grateful, right? So number 2, educate your referral sources. In other words, you've got to help people understand how important referrals are to you, right? You treat them well. It's called the law of reciprocity, and they want to recommend you. So you educate them as to how important their business is to you and how much people just like them are important to you. Number 3, you got to be willing to ask for referrals, but not be icky, right? I mean, I do not like the phrase that I was taught 20 years ago in real estate that you would ask Who do you know that wants to buy and sell real estate? When you blast people with that over and over and over, they start hiding from you. So be careful with that line, right? You've got to earn their referrals, not just beg for referrals. So number 4, you recognize who your referrals are, right? And where they come from. And I've already talked about that, right? My list of 50 as an example. Then you got to measure referral efforts. In other words, what are you doing that's creating more referrals for you this year as compared to the last year, as compared to the previous year? You should be growing your referrals every single year, right? Now, many agents say that the bulk of their business comes from referrals. But if you ask them, well, can you tell me exactly where those referrals came from? They struggle to tell you that. Don't let that be you. Right? So there are 4 key pieces as I wind this down to a successful exit strategy. 4 key pieces. Number 1, you got to determine your personal and financial goals. What's the date, right? What's it going to take for you to, and how much? How much is enough, right? In other words, from a year to year, once you slow down, how do you want to live your life? So what are your personal goals and your financial goals when it comes time, right? Number 2, create, preserve, and grow your company value. Start today, right, to grow it. Now, I know you're trying to always make more money, right, or at least make enough money, but there are ways to do this, right? There are ways to do it, to create, preserve, and grow your company value. Number 3, you've got to obtain a professional evaluation of your business. In other words, you've got to go out and either hire somebody that can evaluate the price of your business, give you an idea, or you got to get good at understanding, by reading, right, or doing your own work to determine how much your business is really worth, right? So that when somebody is ready to buy your business or you're ready to sell your business, you've got an idea in mind what your business is really worth. I mean, it's kind of like a listing presentation that somebody wants to just sell their house for some ridiculous price when the market doesn't demand that, right? If the buyer's not going to pay it, it ain't never going to sell. Number 4, have a buy-sell agreement and a statement plan. Now, I'm not an attorney, so I just want you to know you've got to have agreements in place, and not just the specific agreements on what they're buying, right? What the process is for the buyout, but you got to have an estate plan. Unfortunately, if something were to happen to you between the time you sell and the time that, whoever's buying it pays you off, you've got to have some kind of estate plan in place to protect your family. I'm not an attorney, so I can't do that for you, but there are attorneys out there that can do that for you. Now, let me just mention this to you. I have done a fast, right, overview of what it takes as a result of my just passion for the importance of this. I wrote a course for CRS, a 1-day course called Building, Valuing, and Selling Your Business. Now, I'm not the only one that teaches this course. I wrote it, but I'm not the only one that teaches it. I would recommend, if this has stimulated your interest in any way, I would recommend that you take this course. It's not easy, right, because there aren't a lot of them out there, and you might have to travel someplace, which would be good for you because it would help you build referrals. But take a look for CRS 127, Building, Valuing, and Selling Your Business. And then before I finish and tell you my last story and give you about 10 minutes for questions, let me just suggest to you that, as a national trainer, international, I've been, my stuff has gone all over the world, from Hong Kong to London or Great Britain. I've written a bunch of books, and but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to sell you books. Here's what I'm asking you. You send me an email, mark@markgiven.com, because I've had to do this so fast today. I will send you bonus material for just attending. Now, for those of you that aren't with me live right now and you're watching this recording, that's still good 6 months from now, a year from now, whenever you watch this video, right? So you send me an email, mark@markgiven.com. Tell me where you saw this, and I will send you, I'll put you in my database, and I'll send you some free bonus material, right? It just takes an email. I'm not trying to sell you anything. It's free stuff that will help you down your path. Last thing, let me tell you a story. So J.P. Morgan was never considered one of the wealthiest men in America, but he was very wealthy. In fact, J.P. Morgan because Chase, right? Chase Bank is still around. Back in the early 1900s when the United States was suffering. Back in 1918, we had another pandemic like we're having now. That was called the Spanish flu. But anyway, J.P. Morgan was a financier. The United States was in difficult financial trouble. He organized a bunch of other financiers to help bail out the United States, which actually helped the world because, a country like the U.S. is not good if it goes bankrupt. So anyway, J.P. Morgan was loved but hated by many people, right? Because he was, outspoken and he was, had some success. But here's what's interesting. Different time in a different world, early 1900s, the young man walks up to him on the streets of New York, the way the story goes, and says this to J.P. Morgan, this bold young man. He says, "Sir, in my hand, I hold a guaranteed formula for success, which I will gladly sell to you for $2,000. Now, I just want you to know, back in, say, 1911, which is around the time this was supposed to have happened, $2,000 in 1911 would be equivalent to $54,000 in 2020 dollars, right? So it's like somebody walking up to you and saying, "Hey, I hold a guaranteed formula for success. I'll sell it to you for $54,000. Well, what's interesting is J.P. Morgan, the way the story goes, didn't brush him off and say, "Go away, young man, get out of my face." What he said was, "Young man, let me see what's in that envelope. If it's worth what you say, I will gladly write you a check for $2,000. Now, they did have checks back then, right? And so JP took the envelope from the young man, opened it up, read, and there were only two things written on that piece of paper. When JP read it, the way the story goes, he reached in his pocket, pulled out a checkbook and a pen, and wrote a check for $2,000 to that bold young man. Now, I don't know, maybe he hired him too, but anyway, he wrote him a check for a huge amount of money. Now, when I heard this story, what I was interested in is what in the world was on that paper, right? So here's what was on that paper, the way the story goes. The paper simply read, "Every morning, write a list of the things that need to be done that day. And then number 2, do them." So I just want you to know, it may be a little bit painful to create systems that people will look at what you do and buy it, but you got to decide, just like every single day, decide what you want. This morning when I got up, I have the same thing. I write down a list of what has to happen that day. JP was right then. I believe it's the same principle today. Decide what you want, write it down, create some kind of strategy. Don't let anybody steal your dreams, right? And you'll find the success you're looking for. So Jim Rohn said it this way: success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract. So God bless you. I'm just so glad that you came on today, and I appreciate you being here. And if you got any questions, I'll be glad to entertain those questions. I guess I'll turn the time back over to Raleigh Regional, and you can type in the chat box or you can ask out loud.
That was a true power hour. A lot of good info, Mark, in a short amount of time. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, like he said, if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or type in the chat really quick.
Thank you, Mark. That was great.
Thank you, Betsy. Boy, I raced through it. That's a whole day's information without all the detail, but thank you for saying that.
And Mark's actually going to be here on October 5th through 7th for ABR, if you want to mention that really quick too, Mark. Yeah,
one of the very first courses I ever started teaching was for the National Association of Realtors for their educational arm called REBAC. And actually the number one designation in the realtor industry is the ABR. It's the Accredited Buyer Representative class. I actually wish I was coming there live, right? But I am coming there via Zoom, and we're going to do that class over 3 mornings, right? The first 2 mornings will be longer than the third morning. But anyway, it's about working with buyers. It's how to not only the legal side of staying out of real estate jail, but how to help those buyers understand the importance of what you do and how you protect them, and how to market to them, right? How to negotiate with them, how to work with these different personalities of buyers, how to help them understand what your market really needs for buyers to succeed, because obviously with multiple offers and all the issues that you're running into. So it's several days, not nearly as fast as what I went through this morning, so that we'll have some workshops, and it'll be fun and engaging. I love doing it live and in person, but we can't do that right now. So we're going to try to make it fun and engaging on Zoom, and I'll work hard to make sure that happens.
It'll be great.
Roger, thank you very much. Thanks for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Well, I guess if there's no questions, just know, let me extend that invitation to everybody again, whether they be listening on the recording or you're still with me, that mark@markgiven.com. Please email me. I'll send you some bonus stuff, because there's just so many things I didn't have time to cover in this short period. I'll be glad to send you some things that will be helpful to you. And I just wish you all much success and health, right? God bless you. I'm just grateful to be with you today. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. And again, this will be recorded and put on the RRAR website.
Okay,
Thanks,
I'm going to
Mark.
stop the share. All right, I'll see y'all. I'm going to leave.
Thanks,